When you say dumb stuff, you win dumb awards. I'm going to have to give out a few idiot trophies in the next several weeks to people who continue to say Texas A&M is not a premier job in college football. Let's go ahead and talk about it. If you are new here, welcome on into the channel. My name is Cole Thompson. I'm a radio show host based in Houston, and I talk college football daily. So if this is the type of content you enjoy, make sure you smash that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts on Texas A&M as a program in college football. Thank you to all of our new subscribers who have joined the channel, but make sure you continue to tell your friends, your family, your sister, your brother, your mortal enemies, your best of bros about this channel. That way we can continue to climb to 1,000, then 5,000, then 10,000, 25,000, and all the way to 100,000. Guys, we're going to get there at some point, so you might as well join the party now before it's too late. And as always, let's continue to talk college football. By the way, if you like what I'm saying, make sure you also give me a follow on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson. It's the exact same as my YouTube channel for a reason. So when you hit subscribe here, go on over to X and hit follow there. Thanks in advance. Mike Elko was named the 30th head coach in Texas A&M program history, and he returns after a 2-year stint during his time at Duke, where he went 16-9. He had incredible success when it came to the turnaround of the defense. And the offense does not get enough credit because they improved in all three phases. Offensive line went from being one of the worst in the country to actually only allowing 17 sacks in year one and 15 sacks the next year. Not to mention the passing attack improved drastically. It moved all the way up into the 60s. The scoring offense went from averaging about 15 points a game to 32 points a game. And you really saw the uptick in improvements in terms of culture built. I'm going to be completely straight with you. You don't win in Durham, North Carolina. You don't. They have more winless seasons than they do 10-win seasons. That's the type of situation you're dealt when going to a program like the Blue Devils. And it's also a private institution. So you're not getting these 5-star talents to hitch their wagon to what is supposed to be a basketball school. You're not. You're getting 3 stars, high-end 2 stars, and maybe 1 or 2 blue-chip 4 stars that want to stay close to home and get a higher education, and that's what you're dealt. And Mike Elko won. He went 9-4 in year one. He lost Riley Leonard and his second-string quarterback in year two. He was on a third string, and he still played close against teams like North Carolina. They finished 7-5. They got a win over Clemson to begin the year. Like, they did a ton of improvements. And so Mike Elko now goes back to College Station, where the resources are abundant, where 5-star talent wants to come and play, where Kyle Field is one of the biggest stadiums in all of professional sports, where he will have the backing of boosters, where he will have the backing of the fan base because of the job that he's already done. And the pathway to where we got here is absolutely asinine. I'm going to come out and say right now, I am a proud card-carrying member of the Mark Stoops is a very good coach. Mark Stoops is an exceptional coach, and anybody who said, oh, that was not worth the hire, no, you're Stoops. Stop it. Stop it. Mark Stoops would have absolutely crushed it in College Station. Now, do you want my honest answer? I think that they got the right guy. I think Mike Elko is 100% what Texas A&M needs right now. Program builder, no nonsense, blue collar chip mentality with carrying your lunch pail and slinging it across the side to your offensive or defensive opponent. That's the type of coach you need for this program. But now we're hearing about a bunch of people coming out and saying, oh, well, you know, Texas A&M, what have they done? What has Texas A&M done? Well, Jerry Seinfeld, I'm so glad that you asked that question and brought it up with us. What's the deal with Texas A&M is that they haven't had the right coach. That's plain and simple. And if you look at a bunch of other programs throughout the history of college football, that's the selling point. That's the key element that what keeps you down and doesn't raise you up. You don't have the right coach at the helm. It's not about resources. It's not about it's not about talent. It's not about the building. It's not about the structure. It's not about what you have on the recruiting trail. All that is a bonus. All that is phenomenally a bonus for you. It's about development of talent, development of character, and establishing culture. And the one culture thing that stands tall with every single program I'm about to name wins. When you're good, you win. When your culture is great, you win. And when you win, you end up being known as a premier destination in college football. Texas A&M has 2 11-plus win seasons in the last 2 decades. One in 1998 and one in 2012 when Kevin Sumlin and R.C. Slocum were running the show. R.C. Slocum created the Wrecking Crew defense for 4 years in the 90s. It was one of the best defenses we will ever see in college football. That's culture. That's called establishing a standard and going out there and saying, this is what we expect. And if you don't do this, then you're not going to get on the field. That's culture. And Texas A&M won because of its culture. When you had Johnny Manziel at quarterback in 2012, when he caught a pass in Bryant-Denny Stadium, then threw it downfield to Ryan Swoop, you knew it was over. You knew at that point, I was sitting in the stands. I will never forget it. I was sitting in the stands with a bunch of A&M friends that followed me to Alabama to watch the game. And I turned my head and go, you're winning. You're going to win this game. It's over. That's a moment. But they also had an exceptional offensive line. They also established a great identity, and they went 11-2 that year. That's what happened. That's what happened when you get the quarterback that won a Heisman Trophy as well as a culture. But every other program has gone through this struggle before. You can name probably one program that has never really had to worry about culture. It's more so about standard, and it's Alabama. Alabama has won the most national titles in college football history for a reason, because of who their coach is. Whether that be Nick Saban or Gene Stallings or Wallace Wade or Bear Bryant, specifically Bear Bryant, and anybody else out there, if you didn't mesh well with those in the building, with those in Titletown, if you did not live and breathe what was needed for the Crimson and White, you're shown the door, and nobody feels sorry for you. That's the way it is. But every other program, you had to establish yourself in some way. We talk about Clemson, and we talk about Georgia, and we talk about USC and Oregon and Washington, all being these premier jobs in college football. Let's just go through and look at the history of these schools. I'm so glad that you asked. Clemson won a national title in 2018. They won a national title in 2016. Before Dabo Swinney took over, their last national title was in 1981. Dabo Swinney was a wide receivers coach. He never once was a coordinator. He never once was calling plays. He was a wide receivers coach that was promoted internally, and they won 2 national titles underneath him. Georgia had Mark Richt. Mark Richt, 10 wins. You would almost be promised that. 9 wins, more than likely, but they didn't win a national title for 4 decades. 2020, Kirby Smart, a defensive coordinator who did go to the school, but wasn't this slam dunk, like proven commodity. He was a risk. Wins you 2 national titles. Before that, Vince Dooley was the last dude to do it. Oh, but Georgia, what has Georgia done recently? Georgia had the resources. Georgia had the talent. Georgia punched out more NFL people than you see people go ahead and line up for a Sunday kitchen at church. That's what happened at Georgia. Georgia always was known for being a premier program. They didn't have the right guy. Oregon gets countless names to come to their school every year. Nike, Phil Knight. The resources are abundantly wide, where we can't even talk about a team like Oregon because of, oh, well, look at what they have at their disposal. Look who's in their back pocket. Still haven't won a national title. I think that they will, though, with the guy that's at the helm before he leaves for a job that we all know he's going to take. USC gets Lincoln Riley this offseason. This is supposed to be the guy. You get Caleb Williams to come into the program. You get a new quarterback. USC turns out first-round picks every single year. USC sends players to the NFL every single offseason. They have an incredible recruiting trail. They don't have the most exceptional stadium, though it is one of the most beautiful stadiums in Los Angeles. We can all agree on that one. They have the ability to win all the time. They have more 7+ win seasons than they do national championships in the last 2 decades. They're not a good program because of the guys who they had at the helm, whether that be Lane Kiffin, whether that be Steve Sarkisian, whether that be Clay Helton, whether that maybe be Lincoln Riley for that matter. That's where we are. Washington's a program on the come up. They've done their job. They've been able to build a beautiful stadium. Husky Stadium on the outskirts of Seattle on the Pacific Ocean is wonderful. But they haven't won a national title since 1991. And they've only won 2 since 1960. How about a team like Penn State? Penn State, we consider them the premier school of the Big Ten, not named Ohio State and Michigan. They're right up there, right there. Haven't won a national title in over 3 decades. 1986 was the very last time they won an actual national title. Not claimed, but won a national title. How about Texas? Oh, we talk about Texas all the time and being, that program that's back, that program that's here, the program that is the Lone Star capital. They're going on 2 decades without winning a national title. They've had fewer 7-win seasons than they have had 10-win seasons. They didn't have the right coach. Mac Brown was the one guy. Didn't get it with Tom Herman. Didn't get it with Charlie Strong. Looks like they're on the pathway when it comes to getting Steve Sarkisian there. They didn't have that. Oh, and then Michigan. Michigan, school right now that is absolutely on fire. They're the only team that we can say, alongside Georgia, has done its job during the regular season. Last national title, 1997. You don't have the right coach, you're not going far. You don't have the right people pushing the right buttons inside the building, you're dead in the water. If Mike Elko is the guy to be the top candidate, and Mike Elko could be the guy that sets a tone, brings in a culture, and establishes an identity defensively, finds the right offensive pieces, make sure kids stay at home. It's a premier program. And in 5 years from now, when Alabama is looking for its next head coach, and now you're wondering, well, what happens to Alabama? They can get whoever they want. Maybe we are having those conversations. Well, yeah, they can, but they have to go up against Texas A&M. Texas A&M, they're in the playoff every single year. Tennessee, Josh Heupel, they're in the playoff every single year. Florida, maybe it's not Billy Napier, but maybe it's somebody else. They've been fighting for 10-plus win seasons. Once you get a good coach, once you get the right coach, the guy that's going to set every standard for you, that's what makes you a premier program. Yeah, you can have as many resources as possible. You can have as many recruits that want to come through your building as you like. If you don't establish an identity and you don't establish a culture that culminates in wins, you're not going far. So what has Texas A&M done? They hired a guy that they believe is actually going to set the culture. And once you set the culture, you get the wins. So sorry for those of you that don't believe Texas A&M can be a premier job in college football. Everything is there except for the right guy. And if they have the right guy in Mike Elko, this conversation's a moot point. Thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.